Okay, this is part 2 video. We are going to daytime service now, as this morning we went to the dawn service, and this one is the daytime one that goes from 9 all the way up to lunchtime. Right, heading off to the parade now and for the daytime thing. Lots of cars and road closed signs up. Oh yeah, they're all setting up for the daytime service. This is where the parade starts. People are just standing there waiting to pretty much go, I think. They're just waiting, setting up. Here we go. Here we go. done. What a beautiful old bike that is. That's amazing. It's even got a gun on it. Gonna blow my freaking head off. Lol. Alrighty. Time. The crowd is just amazing. It's all still.
Morning.
Oh.
Special guests, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, my name is John Whitten. As President of Castlemaine Sub-Branch, on behalf of committee and members, welcome to the Castlemaine RSL Anzac Day service. I would like to acknowledge and extend our appreciation to the Jar Wurrung people, the traditional owners of the land that we are standing on today. Today we pay our respects to leaders and elders past, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and the hopes of the Jar Wurrung people. We express our gratitude in the sharing of this land. I now introduce Helen Lane, who will conduct today's commemoration.
Thank you, John, and again, thank you everybody for joining us this morning for this very special remembrance ceremony. We begin this morning with the mounting of the Cenotaph Guard, representatives from our emergency services.
Ah, interesting.
Thank you. It's now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Tim Ireland, who will present a song, Your Dad's Prayer, the words of which were written by his great-grandfather on the back of a postcard sent with his two sons as they sailed for Europe to fight in the Great War in June 16. I'd like to tell you a couple more words if you want to do.
Thank you. In 1916, my great-grandfather William Ireland of Fletcher Street bid farewell to his two sons, Roy and George, his nephew Valentine and his elder brother Victor. When they sailed on the 20th of June 1916, he sent with them a postcard with their portraits in uniform on the front, and a poem and a prayer that he'd written for them in the back. The lyrics in this song, Your Dad's Prayer, are William's words to his son. Lest we forget is the least we can do for our sons and our daughters gave their lives for me and you. Lest we forget where they gave us their all for our freedom, stand or fall. Well, my lads, your country calls, I'll not ask you to respond, but the men we have are too far few for that fierce fight beyond. You well know I cannot go, leave your mom and the little ones. our empire's call will show that your dad had willing sons. God bless you, boys. God bless you both. And may he guide you through and help you both to keep that oath that you have sworn to do. And may he grant you health and strength and watch over you everywhere and comfort you through all life's length. God bless you. Your dad's prayer.
Your dad's prayer. How
Lest
amazing.
we forget is the least we can do for our sons and our daughters that gave their lives for me and you. Lest we forget that they gave us their all for our freedom, stand or fall. We will go and do our best in response to our comrades' call, and our name will be with all the rest for our country's stand or fall. Valentine and Roy went to war when they were boys. Now Flanders Field is where their bodies lay. Lest we forget is the least we can do for our sons and our daughters who gave their lives for me and you. Lest we forget that they gave us their all for our freedom, stand or fall. For our freedom, stand or fall.
Thank you, Tim. In New Zealand, Anzac Day is our own day. It is a day that we mourn and mark the deeds of men and women involved in war, Australians and New Zealanders. The names on public memorials existing in virtually all our towns and cities in Australia and New Zealand are important and regular reminders of the losses our nations felt in those darker days. The Anzacs indeed command and deserve the respect and remembrance of present and future generations of all our people, regardless of race, colour or creed. On the 25th of April each year, Australians and New Zealanders at home and abroad gather to commemorate not just those Anzacs who died on that day, but all current and former men and women of our Defence Force. We remember on this day those who fell in both world wars, in conflicts in Korea, Malaya, Borneo, Vietnam, and more recently in Iraq and Afghanistan. Duty, patriotism, individual sacrifice, and the affirmation of New Zealand and Australian relationship. They are the enduring legacies of Gallipoli and all subsequent conflicts involving our two nations. The men and women who forged the Anzac spirit made sure that those who led them earned their respect. They all understood the values of independence, freedom and fairness, and above all, possessed a willingness to defend these things if need be. Because freedom only survives as long as people are willing to defend it. That is the spirit Anzac handed down to us. If we lose that Anzac spirit, we lose all. Each Anzac Day we remember those who served and died in all conflicts. There were many others who should be remembered, such as those who did not serve, whether by choice or by some restriction, for reasons that we tend to forget. Sure, there were those who did not wish to join the services, but there were those who were willing to serve when regulations were introduced to prevent certain occupations from military service. Occupations reserved were those which were essential for the production of equipment and supplies for the war effort. There was actually a list of reserved occupations to ensure maximum manpower for the war effort. The list was devised to prevent the voluntary enlistment of skilled workers from essential services such as munitions production, depended on war needs and the country's particular circumstances. There had to be a certain number of people left in that part of the workforce to keep the home fires that we are and the freedoms we possess, and to acknowledge the courage and sacrifice of those who contributed so much in shaping the identity of this proud nation, and those who continue to serve. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
We continue our service today with the Castlemaine Highland Pipe Band presenting Highland Cathedral.
Oh, hello. Move, mate. Move out the way. Well done. Good job. Now our attention is on the band over here, by the looks of it.
Supporting our service, they always do a magnificent job. It's now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today's service, Mr. Michael C., who would like to share a special story surrounding his great uncle, Leonard Walker.
Thank you, Alan. I'd first like to acknowledge all those UMP representatives, school captains, all the services. I see the scouts here, ladies and gentlemen, and the next generation. On behalf of my extended family and I have the pleasure and honour today to share your story around my great uncle and a letter he wrote from France on the 22nd of April 1918.
Someone else
The original
filming.
survives today, and I am sure he would be horrified that I now read such a personal letter to the public on Anzac Day of all days, but I hope he'll forgive me. It's a letter which captures a moment in history that has made me think often, and especially on Anzac Day, of how he and all those men of World War I dealt with not just the fighting, but those horrific conditions they endured over such a long period of time. We continued to hold hope of returning to Australia and normal life. Indeed, it may well have been the only thing that kept them going, apart from not letting his mate down next to him. So I wish to set the scene in which the letter was written. My great uncle was named Leonard Stanley Walker, born in Castlemaine in 1891, remaining here until he enlisted in July 1915, aged 24. He was shipped out on HMS Commonwealth in Melbourne in November that year, arriving in Egypt near the Suez Canal, where training camps were set up for the Australians. Here the Australian forces were combined to fight in France from all the AIF veterans who had just arrived from Gallipoli evacuation in December 1915, with the newly arrived troops such as my great uncle. Private Walker was finally placed in the 57th Battalion. Each of the battalions were initially formed in the same state and local districts. The 57th was from central Victoria. They landed in France in June 16, fighting both Belgium and France over the next 2.5 years, through the 3 winters of 16, 17 and 18, for which the war was infamous for the horrendous conditions and stalemate nature of the warfare. The daily reports from the officers always indicated on how hot food reached the troops on the front line, but if you read many of the troops' accounts of the war, that was not their experience. It certainly was not hot. No menu like in those days. Finally, after nearly 2 years of fighting for the Australians, on the 21st of March 1918, the Germans launched their last big offensive across the entire Western Front, and regained in 1 month all of the ground that the Allied forces had gained over the previous years, in some areas lost ground being pushed back further west. Imagine that. Start again, or worse. What was the morale like amongst the troops can only be guessed, but at the end of the war must have felt so far off in April 18, and the dream of returning to Australia likewise. Uncle Len, by now, had been promoted to sergeant, was diverted south to the Somme in mid-March with the entire Australian 5th Division to help counter the German offensive. Events climaxed on the 23rd of April when the Germans entered and captured the small village of Villers-Bretonneux, and was strategically very good to both sides. I imagine on the 22nd of April, the day before the Germans captured Villers-Bret, Len would know his frontline action would be very soon. He writes his letter. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Fox of Yeppoon, just a couple of lines to ask you of the greatest favours I can ask you. That is, will you consent to Una and I becoming engaged? I think you know our feelings towards one another, and there is no need for me to write anything on that point. I have written to Una, telling her that I was going to write to you, and I think she will be more satisfied if she knows that my feelings towards her have not altered, and she knows that she has not waited for me all this time for nothing. Judging by some of her letters, I think she is afraid that I will slip her up and clear off with some English girl. So I think nothing would assure her more that I am still in earnest than that we should become engaged. So I ask you to think it over and let Una know what you think about it. So hoping that you will give these few lines your thoughtful consideration, and let me know if you consider me a fit son-in-law. Yours very sincerely, Sergeant Leonard Stanley Walker. 2 days after writing this letter, 57th Battalion took part in a counter-attack to recapture Villers-Bretonneux, starting on the night of the 24th and on into the 25th of April, Anzac Day, 106 years ago.
Wow.
It was an unusual surprise attack at night without any customary Allied artillery barrage, making a very risky assault. The Australians, in one of the more famous victories of World War I, liberated Villers-Bretonneux that day for the last time, and in that action, Uncle Len was awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal, second only to the Victoria Cross, in clearing out the enemy in house-to-house combat. After that victory, there was another 5 months of very little relief as the Allies pushed the Germans back. On the 29th of September, just 44 days before Armistice Day and the end of the war, Uncle Len received a severe shrapnel wound to the hip at point-blank enemy artillery fire. That was the last action he was to see, and was quickly evacuated to England. However, I'm very pleased to report he survived his wounds. He did not slip up and clear off with any English nurse during his rehabilitation, and returned to Castlemaine to marry Una Eileen Fox. His contribution to Australia did not end there though, and he became actively involved in the Castlemaine RSL, becoming president in 1926 and again in 1934. He passed away in July 1966, aged 74, and is buried in the front row of the Castlemaine Cemetery in Campbell's Creek. As a child during the early 60s, I had the pleasure of meeting him on family occasions when visiting Castlemaine up from Geelong. He was still living at home, but was always bedridden, with poor health, which I was told was from the mustard gas. All I can think of these days, especially today, is wow, I got to meet him, one of the soldiers of World War I, who survived the unimaginable through most the entire Australian European campaign and got back to marry his sweetheart, Una Eileen Potts, whom he left behind in 1915. I also remember as a child there was a plaque of the odd name Mabari on it, located on the front of the house that Len and Una lived in after being married. My research found it was the name of the ship that brought him back from England, having spent a total of 1,166 days, 3 and a bit years away from Australian soil. The plaque can still be seen there today. My great uncle, like all war veterans, will be very pleased, I suspect, to see how Anzac Day is now entrenched in Australian culture, and to see all these young Australians free and willing to pay their respects, not only in Australia, but also pilgrimages to Gallipoli and Europe. If I might indulge here, that I recommend if you ever get to France, then go to Villers-Bretonneux and visit the Australian War Memorial, which incorporates the relatively new St John Monash Centre. It is truly worth the visit, not just to honour the fort. Villers-Bretonneux is a beautiful spot, and the people there still honour and passing on to their next generation the story of soldiers who came from the other side of the world in their slouch hats and liberated their little village and then helped rebuild it. Finally, I wish to thank the members of the Castlemaine RSL Committee for allowing me to present this little dedication to my uncle today, and might I also bring to your attention the fine, tireless work of the people involved in running the Castlemaine RSL, and that we support them as best as possible in supporting our veterans, lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Now welcoming Thompson's family band.
Over here.
Today, oh God, our hope in ages past. We have a singer today, so sing up, people. Thank you.
Oh, let's see what. That's interesting.
Those who are the police band. Thank you to the band for their support today. Please be seated.
It's 1916. Originally it was the one of the beautiful Anzac. Then it became a day for those who had served in the First World War. With Australians later experiencing the Second World War and all of the wars, conflicts, peacekeeping operations that have followed, Anzac Day became an occasion to honour all who have worn the Australian uniform in military service. Today we stand together to acknowledge more than 100,000 Australian service people, like my uncle, who lost their lives in military operations carried out in our country's name. We honour the value of the original Anzacs, selflessness, bravery, and loyalty. And we recognise the ways in which later generations have measured their own achievements against the legacies of those who fought on the last place is played today for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. For me, they all fulfilled their duty under our address. After silence, this is a time to think about those who have served in Australia's armed forces, those who continue to serve, and about those who lost their lives. This will be good.
Thank you, Councillor. I'd now like to introduce Matthew Jackson, who will present a specially written Anzac Day song, Sons of Castlemaine.
This is for all of us. You whisper gently to me, remember us this day, not for legends of a war. We were part of Castlemaine. We stood where you were standing, walked up the market steps, played cricket on the oval, pitches at the Royal. We rode our bikes and horses to school, then rambled home. Like all young lads, we loved our fun. Mischief was not far. Swam the rev after cutting hay. Boy, did it get hot. All of this without a care. The joy of being young. He whispered to me gently, remember us this day, not for legends of a war. We were part of Castlemaine. We stood where you were standing, walked up the market steps, played cricket on the oval, or pitches at the Royal. We rode our bikes and horses to school and rambled home. Like all young lads, we loved our fun. Mischief was not far. Swam the rev after cutting hay. Boy, did it get hot. All of this without a care. Joy of being young. Then the call went out. Australia was at war. Of young men, just 18 years. Excitement filled our veins. We'd see the world, oh, she'll be right. We're all in this together. Castlemaine had cradled us. Our lives would change forever.
She's amazing.
Slaughter at Civil Bay, the carnage back in France. changed us all in many ways. The horror never stopped. But I will not speak to you of war. You know the story well. I want you to remember we were sons of Castlemaine. We loved our life here in this place, and mates our families too. We loved the gatherings round the town, whatever reason drew. For we all got together, and strength was there as well. We left here as innocents. That bloody war was hell. Take care of one another. This little town is grand. For though time brings such changes, our needs are all the same. The kinship and the caring, being together too. It's what still draws us from around this place called Castlemaine. Remember us, the sons from here. We left with youthful thoughts. We carry dear our stories and memories of our time. God bless you all, and thanks again for being here today. From all of us this Anzac Day, right here in Castlemaine. God bless, cheers all, and thanks again for being here today. From all of us this Anzac Day, right here in Castlemaine.
Thank you, Mamie. During our Anzac Day service each year, the Castlemaine Secondary College school captains are invited to give a short address. Today we welcome Bridget Holland and Claire Mitchell, the 2024 school captains.
Morning. My name is Bridget Collins, and I'm one of four school captains from Castlemaine Secondary College here today. As someone who has lived in Castlemaine all of my life, I've been to a few of these Anzac Day services over the years as an officer. So to be here today, standing and speaking before all of you, being involved in a day that means so much to my country is something that I'm extremely grateful for. Today, of course, marks 109 years since the first soldiers of the Anzac soldiers landed on the Gallipoli Peninsula in the early morning of the 25th of April. The Gallipoli campaign ultimately ended tragedy, with thousands of young men from both countries making the ultimate sacrifice. Something that has always stuck with me about the Anzacs and soldiers of any other war is that young people, some younger than I am now, have lied about their age to conquer. How teenagers, many as young as 16, join the war expecting a fun adventure to await them on the other side of the world, only to be faced with the threat of not coming home. My great-great-grandfather, Reginald Charles Beavers, was one of these young men, enlisting in the Australian Imperial Force when he was just 20 years old in the February of 1916. He was involved in the trenches of France and Belgium. He fought in the Somme, on the Hindenburg Line, and in Bapaume. He was awarded the Military Medal in bravery for retrieving 1 wounded and 2 dead members of his patrol in the early morning of the 25th of April 1980, 106 years ago today. He was lucky enough to come home. Australian soldiers have fought all over the world to defend our country, from the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of Vietnam, from the deserts of Iraq to the mountains of Afghanistan. Australians and New Zealanders have stood together with our allies, conveying the values of our nation with grace. While we honour their bravery, we must also remember, for every name inscribed on a memorial, there is a story of a life cut short, of dreams left unfulfilled, of families torn apart by grief and loss. Behind every soldier, sailor, airman, and airwoman stands a loved one who shared in their burdens, their fears, and their triumphs. We honour them, and we must never forget the human toll of conflict, and the toll it takes on those who witness it, both physically and mentally. We owe our soldiers a debt of gratitude that can never be fully repaid, but we can honour their service by ensuring that they receive the care, support, and respect they deserve, both during and after their time in uniform. The 25th of April is a day that we as a country, alongside New Zealand, take to recognise and pay tribute not only to the service of those who fought at Gallipoli, but also to more than 100,000 Australian servicemen and women who have lost their lives in the name of our country, and the hundreds of thousands more that have served our country in times of war and peace. We honour their sacrifice and selflessness in the defence of our country. As we stand here, let us aim to uphold the legacy of the Anzacs by striving to share their values of endurance, resilience, empathy, good humour, and mateship. Let's aspire to be worthy of the legacy they left us. Let us remember the past, honour the present, and welcome the future. Let's represent.
Have a strong bond. They often check in with one another, showing that they care towards each other extends far beyond their lives and status, highlighting that inarguable friendship they have towards one another. Alongside this mutual respect, there is also, of course, a fair share of banter, especially between the different services. There is an ongoing debate on which service is the best, with all branches defending their case. But as soon as someone from the outside interjects, they will almost certainly put this view aside and defend each other. Today, I will be sharing Anzac Day in the place I call home, this community, alongside my school captain friends. We honour the values that have been invested in the original Anzacs: loyalty, selflessness, courage, and the ways in which later generations measured their own achievements against those of the soldiers who fought on Gallipoli. So, as we reflect on the deeds of the original Anzacs, we should also take time to respect others that have followed in their footsteps of service, in conflicts, war, and peacekeeping operations. And to them, I say thank you. Thank you for your service. Lest we forget.
Okay, good job.
Thank you, Bridget, and thank you, Claire. Magnificent as always. We come to one of the most important parts of our service, where various organisations and people wish to pay their respect by laying wreaths and floral tributes. Would those people and organisational group representatives who have indicated they wish to lay a wreath or a tribute, please move to the area over to my right near the wreath table. As the name of the person, group or organisation is announced, would they please come forward to accept the wreath from the table and lay it at the cenotaph.
At the cenotaph.
We begin with our sub-branch president, Mr. John Whitten, and ladies auxiliary president, Ms. Jean Buchanan. George Milford on behalf of David Milford. Neil Campbell for Castlemaine Vietnam veterans. Corey Fernando on behalf of the federal member for Bendigo, Lisa Chesters. Sam Kane on behalf of the state member for Victoria, Marie Edwards. Castlemaine Legacy Group. Janine McHugh, the Walter Dealer, VC. Heather Parsons, on behalf of the 2nd, 22nd Battalion and POWs on the Montevideo Maru and the 6th Battalion 1st AIM. Councillor Bill Maltby for the Mount Alexander Shire. Victoria Police, Castlemaine. SES, Castlemaine. Country Fire Authority. Castlemaine Rotary Club. Castlemaine Lions Club. Thompson's Family Band. Castlemaine Secondary College. Kyneton Catholic College. St Mary's Primary School. Girton Grammar School. Castlemaine North Primary School. Winters Flat Primary School. South Castlemaine Kindergarten. Castlemaine Primary School. Castlemaine Scouts and Guides. Majesty's Prison Lobby. Service Club of Castlemaine. Would anybody else wishing to lay a wreath or floral tribute on behalf of a family, friend, or organisation, please do so at the completion of the service. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, once again the President of the Castlemaine RSL Sub-Branch, Mr. John Witten, will recite the oath. All those who are able, please stand again. Thank you. Thompson's family band.
As we to the left grow old, age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Thank you.
Our bugle for today. He was here for the morning service. And here for the
Good
service
job,
today.
Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy. We will now be led by Thompson's family band as we present God Save the King, our Australian national anthem and the national anthem of New Zealand. The words are written on the back of the program there if anybody wishes to sing. Thank you.
bless you. Our land, just gifts of any rich Advance Australia Fair, Australian National Anthem. The next one is the New Zealand. I don't know the words.
As we begin our service today with the mounting of the Senator Earth Guard, we conclude our service with the dismounting of the guard.
Oh, good job, State Emergency Services.
We thank our local representatives of our emergency services. Thank you very much.
Good job.
That concludes our service today, and we wish to acknowledge the support and assistance given to Castlemaine RSL by many groups, schools, volunteers, scouts, guides, and all those that I have failed to mention. Thank you, everybody. It's been a lovely service for you all to attend. In closing, the RSL extends an invitation for all to join us in the Memorial Hall for late refreshments, for which we thank the ladies, auxiliary and volunteers. We also thank KR Castlemaine, Hot and Crusty Bakery and Bar, and Ian Potter for the contributions to the RSL today. Thank you to the people of Castlemaine and those visiting today for your time in attending our service and for supporting our RSL with your donations. Thank you very much.
Okay, we are all finished up with the service. We're going to eat something now, but first we're going to have a quick look at the wreaths. See you later, Mary. Oh, sorry.
Haven't seen you walk.
These beautiful wreaths, guys. Now we're going to get something to eat. She right, Mary? She all right? Yep, you got her. You got her. We got her. Oh, the fellas are in there. I'll go this way. It's going to take up a lot of space. Oh, look at all the food. Yummy food. Mmm.
Oh, that'll be the Bendigo.
What a feast. And the crowd.
Yeah, because it is just a
This looks interesting. They look like those dog things.
it's a hot dog, isn't it?
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's a hot dog.
It's either that or a sausage roll, but
Oh,
smushed.
hot sausage roll, yeah.
Yeah, something. Okay, that's it today, guys. Like and subscribe to Ashy Tuck and Kitties, and we'll see you at some stage.